In the name of God. Signal struggles, a tale of modern communication.
David stared at his smartphone's dwindling battery icon, knowing he'd need to charge up soon. He'd spent all morning trying to get through to the bank's switchboard, but the line was perpetually engaged. His cordless phone at home had interference issues, so he'd resorted to his mobile, though its signal was weak. The dialing tone would cut out mid-call, leaving him listening to an answer phone message. Frustrated, he decided to visit in person, but not before checking the phone book for the bank's extension numbers. He scribbled the area code and country code in his notes, wary of wrong number mishaps. At the bank, David took a queue ticket, eyeing the telephone directory on the counter. The operator at the outside line desk was juggling a business call and a personal call simultaneously. David overheard her say, "Hold the line, please, I'll put her on," before the caller was cut off. A man nearby grumbled about his smartphone's fault, complaining he'd been dialing the directory inquiries for help. David's ringtone suddenly blared a missed call from an ex-directory number. He dismissed it, focusing instead on the teller, Sarah, who finally called him forward. Sarah greeted David while adjusting her receiver, her phone card visible under the desk ledge. "Could I speak to Ms. Rodriguez, please?" David asked, noting Sarah's phone number placard. "One moment," she replied, dialing a number on her switchboard. The line rang, but after 3 tones, an automated voice announced, "I'm sorry, she's in a meeting." Sarah sighed. "Would you like to leave a message?" David hesitated, he hated answering machines. "Can I text her instead?" he asked, but Sarah shook her head. "Bank policy requires calls." David's mobile phone charger cable peeked from his bag as he debated his next move. Sarah suggested, "Could you ask her to call me back," and handed him a phone box token for emergencies. Just then, a dialing code manual fell off her desk, revealing an international directory inquiries leaflet. "How do I get an outside line here?" David asked, half joking. Sarah smiled. "No need, Ms. Rodriguez just walked in." David's relief was cut short when his phone buzzed another missed call. He silenced it, muttering, "I'll call back later." Ms. Rodriguez's loudspeaker announcement echoed as she approached. "Sorry for the delay, my battery died mid-call." David explained his loan concerns while she put through a request to accounting. Static interference crackled from her desk phone, she hung up and redialed. "The line's engaged," she muttered. David's smartphone chimed a text message from work. "Do you mind if I send a text quickly?" he asked. Ms. Rodriguez nodded, then gasped her phone card had expired. "I'll ring off and use my extension," she decided. As Ms. Rodriguez dialed out, David noticed her phone directory was bookmarked at Loan Department. "Can you hear me okay?" she asked the recipient, but the bad line made her speak up. She put down the receiver, sighing. "Let's try directory inquiries." David offered his mobile, but its weak signal rendered it useless. "I ran out of credit yesterday," he admitted. Ms. Rodriguez chuckled. "Next time, phone ahead, we'll get back to you properly." She finally got through, and David's loan was adjusted seamlessly. Leaving the bank, David checked his missed calls, all from unknown numbers. His ringtone blared again, this time, he answered. "Hello?" "John speaking," said the caller. "Sorry, wrong number," David replied, hanging up. He texted his colleague, "Loan sorted. Call you back later." His mobile phone charger finally plugged in at home, he reflected on the ordeal. Next time, he mused, I'll leave a message sooner. The answer phone light blinked, another call. He pressed play, "Thank you for calling. Please hold the line." David laughed and switched off the machine. As David walked home, his phone buzzed with another text message from his colleague asking for an update. He quickly typed a reply while waiting at a crosswalk, nearly dropping his smartphone when someone bumped into him. The screen flashed a warning, battery low, 5% remaining. He groaned, realizing he'd forgotten to charge up his phone fully that morning. Spotting a cafe ahead, he decided to stop and ask if they had a mobile phone charger he could borrow. The barista nodded and handed him a cable, saying, "Just don't leave it off the hook too long, we close in an hour." David plugged in his phone and watched as the signal bars fluctuated wildly. While waiting for his phone to charge, David decided to call his mother back. She'd left 3 missed calls earlier. He dialed her number carefully, making sure to include the area code even though it was local. The line connected after a few rings, but the audio kept breaking up, making conversation difficult. "Can you hear me okay?" David shouted into the receiver, drawing glances from other customers. His mother's voice crackled through, "You're on loudspeaker, I'm cooking." David rolled his eyes and asked her to switch off the speakerphone. As they talked, he noticed his battery had climbed to 15%, enough to make it home. Back at his apartment, David plugged his phone into its mobile phone charger properly this time. He flipped through his telephone directory looking for the bank's after-hours contact number. Finding it, he decided to phone up their customer service line to confirm the loan changes. After navigating an automated menu, he finally reached a human operator. "Hello? Could I speak to someone about my loan, please?" David asked. The response came, "All our agents are currently on another call. Would you like to leave a message?" Frustrated, David chose the callback option and hung up, making a mental note to try again in the morning. The next day, David's phone woke him with its cheerful ringtone. It was Ms. Rodriguez calling to confirm the loan paperwork. "I just need you to verify some details," she said. David rubbed his eyes and reached for his glasses, nearly knocking over his cordless phone charger. As they went through the documents, David's smartphone beeped with another incoming call, his office. "Hold on," he told Ms. Rodriguez, "I need to put you on hold for a second." He switched lines quickly, telling his boss, "I'm on the phone with the bank, can I call you back in 10 minutes? After finalizing the loan details, David decided to phone around to compare interest rates at other banks. The first call went to voicemail immediately. "Thank you for calling. There's no one here to take your call at the moment." The second time, he got through but was told, "I'm sorry, that information is ex-directory." By the third attempt, David was ready to give up when he suddenly couldn't hear anything. "Hello? Hello," he said before realizing the call had been cut off. Checking his phone, he saw the dreaded no signal icon in the corner. He moved closer to the window and redialed, this time successfully connecting to a helpful representative. That evening, David's friend Mark called to invite him out. "Hold on," David said, "let me put you on loudspeaker while I find my keys." As they chatted, David's phone emitted a warning beep. The battery was dying again. "I need to hang up and charge up," he told Mark. "I'll text you the details," Mark replied before they ended the call. David plugged in his phone and opened his messaging app, only to see 3 unread text messages from earlier that day, all from the bank with important loan updates. He groaned, realizing he should have checked his messages sooner. The following morning, David made sure his phone was fully charged before calling the bank's international directory inquiries line. He needed information about overseas transfer fees. After being put through to 3 different departments and being cut off once, he finally got the answers he needed. As he ended the call, his phone buzzed with a notification, 1 missed call from unknown number. David hesitated, then decided not to call back. It was probably another telemarketer. He made a mental note to ask the phone company about blocking unwanted calls as he headed out the door. During his lunch break, David attempted to call his insurance company from a phone box near his office. The antique payphone swallowed his coins but refused to connect the call. "I can't get a dialing tone," he complained to no one in particular. Giving up, he pulled out his smartphone instead, only to find its battery critically low again. Resigned, he walked back to his office, making a note to buy a portable mobile phone charger that weekend. As he passed the reception desk, the secretary called out, "David, line 2, it's the bank." He hurried to his desk to take the call. The bank representative had good news. David's loan modification had been fully approved. "We tried calling your mobile several times yesterday," the representative said. David apologized, explaining his ongoing signal issues. "Would you prefer we send text messages for important updates?" the representative asked. David agreed enthusiastically, providing his email as backup. As they finished the call, David's office phone rang, another business call he needed to take. "One moment," he told the new caller, "let me put you through to voicemail while I switch lines." That night, David carefully organized all his loan documents while his phone charged nearby. His ringtone startled him, an unknown number flashing on the screen. "Hello," he answered cautiously. "Is this David?" an unfamiliar voice asked. "Who's calling?" David responded. The caller immediately launched into a sales pitch. "I'm sorry, I'm not interested," David said firmly before hanging up. He made a face at his phone, yet another wrong number sales call. Checking his call log, he saw he'd received 7 calls that day, but only 3 were actually important. On Saturday morning, David visited an electronics store to buy a new mobile phone charger and a power bank. The salesperson demonstrated several models, including one with a built-in answer phone function. "Do you often leave messages?" the salesperson asked. David shook his head. "I just need something reliable that won't run out of credit when I need it most," he joked. After purchasing a high-capacity charger, David stopped by a phone store to inquire about his persistent signal problems. The technician suggested resetting his network settings, warning, "You might lose your saved dialing codes though." Sunday found David finally relaxing at home, his phone fully charged and loan worries resolved. When his ringtone played, he checked the caller ID, his sister. "Hey, can you hear me okay?" she asked immediately. "Yes, no interference today," David replied. They chatted for 20 minutes before David's phone emitted the low battery warning again. "I need to hang up," he said. "My phone's about to die." Again, his sister laughed. "Text me later." After the call, David made a solemn vow to buy that portable charger first thing Monday morning. As David prepared for bed, he reflected on his week of phone troubles. Between the engaged lines, missed calls, and constant battery anxiety, it had been exhausting. Yet everything had worked out, his loan was settled, and he'd learned valuable lessons about communication. He set his fully charged phone on its mobile phone charger, making sure the loudspeaker was off for the night. Just as he turned out the light, his phone buzzed with one final text message, the bank confirming everything was processed. Smiling, David decided to check it in the morning. Some things could wait. David's Monday morning began with his smartphone's cheerful ringtone playing his default alarm. He reached for the device, noticing it had only charged to 85% overnight due to a loose connection in his mobile phone charger. As he dialed out to his office voicemail, the call immediately broke up with static interference. "I can't hear you very well," he told the automated system before hanging up in frustration. His cordless phone downstairs offered no better connection when he tried to phone up his assistant. The answer phone clicked on after 5 rings, "Please leave a message after the tone." David sighed and began dictating his schedule when suddenly the line went dead, he'd been cut off mid-sentence. Checking his telephone directory, he found the main office number and successfully got through on his 4th attempt. "All lines are engaged right now," the receptionist informed him. David groaned and grabbed his briefcase. This clearly required an in-person visit. At the office, David's colleague Mark waved him over, holding a receiver from the switchboard. "It's your wife on line 3, Mark said. She says she's been trying your mobile all morning." David took the phone, noticing the extension cord was frayed near the base. "Hello? You're on the phone with David," he said formally, drawing chuckles from nearby co-workers. His wife explained she'd called 7 times about their dinner plans but kept getting his answer phone. "My battery keeps dying," David admitted, shifting the receiver to his other ear. "And the signal in our bedroom is terrible." His wife suggested they text message instead, but David worried about running out of credit. As they spoke, the office manager announced a fire drill, forcing David to ring off abruptly. He made a mental note to call her back after the alarm, but the drill lasted 40 minutes. Later, he found 3 more missed calls from her number on his office phone display. During lunch, David visited a telecom store to address his chronic signal problems. The technician examined his smartphone while David browsed phone cards near the register. "Your dialing codes seem corrupted," the technician declared. "Have you tried directory inquiries for local towers?" David shook his head, he didn't even know that was an option. The salesman demonstrated a new model with superior call clarity, boasting no more bad line complaints. When David asked about international calls, the clerk explained country codes and recommended purchasing international directory inquiries access. David's current phone buzzed during the demonstration, another wrong number from an X-directory line. The technician suggested resetting his network settings, warning you'll lose all saved area codes. As David considered the $800 price tag on the newest smartphone, his stomach growled he'd have to phone back later after eating. Back at work, David's desk phone displayed 7 blinking lights, multiple missed calls waiting. He pressed the voicemail button and heard Ms. Rodriguez's voice, "Please call me back about your loan paperwork." The second message was his dentist's office confirming an appointment. The third began, "This is John speaking from," before David deleted the obvious telemarketing pitch. His extension rang as he reached for the receiver, his boss asking, "Can you hear me okay?" through noticeable static. David adjusted the loudspeaker volume as his boss explained an urgent client needed directory inquiries for Brussels. "The dialing code is 32, David recalled, scribbling it down. His boss thanked him and rang off abruptly. David then noticed his mobile flashing 12% battery remaining. He plugged it into a USB port just as another call came through the office switchboard. That evening, David attempted to phone around to compare internet providers from his home office. His first call to Comlink ended with, "We're not available at the moment," after 15 minutes on hold. The second provider transferred him 3 times before cutting off unexpectedly. "I've been cut off," David exclaimed to his empty study. His third attempt using the cordless phone resulted in terrible interference. "Could you please repeat that?" he asked repeatedly before giving up. Switching to his smartphone, David successfully got through to a sales rep who asked, "Is it convenient to talk at the moment?" Just then, David's doorbell rang, a delivery requiring signature. "Can I call you back?" David asked, but the rep explained their lines closed in 5 minutes. Juggling the package, David managed to shout, "Please call back later," before his battery died completely. The answer phone light blinked accusingly as he carried the box inside. David plugged his smartphone into the mobile phone charger with a frustrated sigh, watching the battery percentage finally begin to climb. He pressed the answer phone playback button, hearing Ms. Rodriguez's voice, "Please call me back, we need to verify your loan documents." As he reached for his cordless phone, the dialing tone buzzed erratically, indicating a fault in the line. "I can't get through," he muttered, slamming the receiver down. His mobile buzzed a text message from his colleague, "Did you get the client's number?" David groaned, realizing he'd forgotten to check the telephone directory. He dialed out to his office, but the call immediately broke up, the interference making conversation impossible. "You're on another call?" David shouted into the static before hanging up in defeat. The next morning, David's ringtone startled him awake, a call from an unknown number. "Hello? Who's calling?" he answered cautiously. A robotic voice replied, "Your phone number has won a prize." David rolled his eyes. "I'm sorry, I'm not interested," he said firmly before ringing off. Checking his missed calls, he saw 3 attempts from his bank overnight. He dialed the extension for Ms. Rodriguez, but the line was engaged. "All agents are not available at the moment," the automated voice informed him. David grabbed his phone card and headed to a phone box downtown, where he could get an outside line without signal issues. Inside the booth, he inserted the card and carefully dialed the international directory inquiries for his bank's headquarters. The call connected, but the voice on the other end said, "I'm afraid that number's X-directory." Back at his apartment, David's smartphone buzzed a text message from his sister, "Did you get through to the bank?" He typed a reply, "No, their lines are always engaged." Just then, his cordless phone rang. "Hello, this is Maria here," said a cheerful voice. "Could I speak to David?" David frowned. "Speaking. Where are you calling from?" The caller, a bank representative, explained they were following up on his loan. As they spoke, the interference worsened. "It's a bad line," David said. "Could you call me back?" The call dropped before she could respond. David stared at the receiver, then noticed his mobile phone charger had come unplugged again. His battery was now at 3%. At work, David borrowed his colleague's smartphone to phone up the bank again. "Hold the line, please," the operator said before transferring him. After 5 minutes of silence, David wondered if he'd been cut off. Suddenly, Ms. Rodriguez's voice came through. "David? Can you hear me okay?" David exhaled in relief. "Yes, but barely, there's interference." She apologized and explained his loan paperwork was complete. "Would you like me to send a text message with the details?" David agreed instantly. As they finalized the terms, his colleague's phone emitted a warning beep. The battery was dying. "I need to hang up," David said hurriedly. "Thanks for calling," Ms. Rodriguez replied before the call ended. That evening, David's answer phone light blinked insistently. He pressed play. "This is John speaking from Solar Solutions. Do you know the number for our nearest branch?" David deleted the message, annoyed. His mobile then chimed a text message from Ms. Rodriguez with his loan confirmation. Smiling, he plugged the phone into its mobile phone charger and set it to loudspeaker as he cooked dinner. Halfway through chopping vegetables, his ringtone blared, his mother calling. "Hi Mom, you're on loudspeaker," he said, balancing the receiver awkwardly. "Your voice keeps breaking up," she complained. David adjusted the volume, but the interference worsened. "I'll call you back later," he promised before hanging up. As he plated his meal, the answer phone activated again, another wrong number. David sighed and switched off the machine. The next day, David visited the bank in person to collect his loan documents. At the switchboard, Sarah greeted him warmly. "No phone troubles today," she teased. David laughed. "Not since I bought a new mobile phone charger." As Ms. Rodriguez handed him the paperwork, his smartphone buzzed, a calendar alert for his sister's birthday. "Mind if I send a text quickly?" he asked. Ms. Rodriguez nodded. David typed, "Happy birthday. I'll give you a ring tonight." Just then, the fire alarm blared, forcing everyone outside. In the chaos, David's mobile slipped from his pocket, the screen cracked, but the battery icon still glowed strong. "Some luck at last," he muttered, tucking it safely away. That night, David's cordless phone rang as he settled on the couch. "Hello? Bill speaking," said his brother-in-law. "Can you hear me okay?" David adjusted the receiver. "Barely, there's interference." Bill explained he was calling from a phone box with a faulty keypad. "I had to dial out 3 times, he complained. Their conversation was interrupted by a robotic voice. "Please insert another phone card." "Gotta go, running out of credit," Bill said before the line died. David shook his head, then noticed his smartphone flashing, a missed call from his mother. He dialed her number, but the call went straight to answer phone. "Hi Mom, it's David here," he said after the tone. "Call me back when you can." The next morning, David's ringtone woke him, a call from an unknown area code. "Hello? Who's calling?" he answered groggily. A woman asked, "Is this the National Gallery?" David blinked. "Sorry, you must have the wrong number," he replied before hanging up. His mobile then buzzed, a text message from Ms. Rodriguez, "Loan processed. Check your account." Elated, David grabbed his telephone directory to look up his accountant's extension. After 3 attempts, he finally got through. "One moment, please," the receptionist said before transferring him. The accountant picked up immediately. "David, I'll put you on speaker." As they discussed the loan terms, David's mobile phone charger sparked, then died completely. "My battery's about to," he began before the call dropped. At the electronics store, David examined a new smartphone with a 48-hour battery. The salesman demonstrated its answer phone feature. "You can screen calls with AI." David hesitated. "Does it handle international directory inquiries?" The salesman nodded enthusiastically. "Just dial the country code first." As David tested the loudspeaker, his old mobile buzzed in his pocket, a text message from his sister. "Why didn't you call me back?" He typed a quick reply. "Phone died. Buying replacement." At checkout, the cashier offered a phone card for overseas calls. "No thanks," David said. "I've had enough phone troubles this week." That evening, David set up his new smartphone at the kitchen table. He transferred his contacts, wincing at the long list of missed calls and wrong numbers. The ringtone suddenly blared, his mother again. "Hi Mom, you're on loudspeaker," he said, testing the new feature. "The connection's perfect," she marveled. David smiled. No interference, no bad line, just working like a cordless phone should. As they chatted, his old mobile phone charger sparked again in the trash can. David quickly stamped out the smoke. "Everything okay?" his mom asked. "Perfect," David laughed. Finally. The next morning, David's new smartphone buzzed with a text message alert, a rarity with its advanced spam filters. It was Ms. Rodriguez, final loan confirmation attached. David opened the document, relieved to see everything in order. He dialed out to thank her, but the call went straight to answer phone. "Hi, it's David here," he said after the tone. "Thanks for calling earlier, loan looks great." Hanging up, he noticed his battery still showed 100%. Impressed, he scrolled through his contacts, making mental notes to call back friends he'd missed during his phone troubles. His telephone directory sat discarded on the shelf, obsolete at last. At work, David's colleague marveled at his new smartphone. "No more signal issues?" she asked. David grinned. "Not even in the elevator." As he demonstrated the loudspeaker function, his boss called through the office switchboard. "David, line 1, it's your bank." David took the call at his desk, noticing the crystal clear connection. "This is Maria here," said the representative. "We're following up. Any problems with the loan?" "None," David said. "Though I did have to buy a new phone to get through to you." The rep laughed and promised future text message updates. As David hung up, his colleague whistled. "Guess your phone troubles are finally over." That weekend, David visited his parents, bringing his new smartphone to show off. "No more interference?" his father asked skeptically. David handed him the receiver during a call to his sister. "It's like we're in the same room," his father exclaimed. As David explained the answer phone features, his mother dug out their old telephone directory. "Remember when we needed this to dial out?" she laughed. David's ringtone interrupted a spam call. He declined it instantly. "The filter blocks wrong numbers," he explained. His parents exchanged impressed glances. "Guess we need an upgrade," his dad admitted. On Sunday night, David plugged his smartphone into its mobile phone charger more out of habit than necessity. The battery still showed 65% after heavy use all weekend. Scrolling through his call log, he noticed only legitimate contacts, no missed calls from ex-directory numbers. His answer phone had just one message, his sister confirming dinner plans. As he set the loudspeaker volume for his morning alarm, the device buzzed, a text message from Ms. Rodriguez, "Loan payment processed successfully." David smiled and typed a reply, "Thanks for everything. No more phone troubles on my end." The next morning, David woke to birdsong instead of his ringtone. He'd forgotten to set the alarm. Grabbing his smartphone, he saw the battery at 42% despite being unplugged all night. As he made coffee, the phone buzzed, a calendar alert for his first loan payment. David chuckled. "Guess some reminders are welcome," he mused. The device then played a cheerful chime, his sister calling back about dinner. "Can you hear me okay?" she asked. "Perfectly," David said, sipping his coffee. No static, no interference, no frantic searches for a mobile phone charger. Just clear connection, finally.
Like and subscribe if you would like.